Alrighty, got the dozer engine back in the hay barn, getting ready to put it back in the machine. So I've already put a few things back on. Got the intake manifold, exhaust manifold, alternator. I did put this on, but I forgot. I've got to take this hydraulic pump back off because I got to put the belt on first. Kind of a pain the way that's set up, but anyway, I'll pop that off of there and get the belt on. I do have a new belt for it that hopefully is the right size. My stand got kind of mangled. Had a bit of a fiasco getting it off of here, and I still do need to put the rear main seal in that housing on the back, but I need to pull it off the stand first to be able to reach it. Also, I'm going to pull this timing cover back off, and I just want to pull that shaft out of the fuel pump and make sure I've got it on there right. If you remember when I was assembling that, I made a video showing that it has to be seated in there correctly, and I was just thinking about it, and I'm afraid that I might have I could have put it on there 180 degrees out, so I'm just going to check that real quick before I assemble the rest of it. And then there's water tube that goes across the front there. It is right there. One other thing that I messed up on is whenever I put the this pulley back on, I torqued those down, and it's probably kind of hard to see, but the screws actually hit back here. They bottomed out, all four of them. I was trying to figure out why. It's because you got to have the fan on there. So it did kind of mess up the screws. So I've got some new ones. They're 5/16 coarse thread, 1 3/4 long. I couldn't find any 1 3/4 long ones. I found some 1.5. So we'll see if that looks like it's going to work. And they are grade 8s. If not, I think I've got a die that I can run over the old screws that I messed the ends up on and hopefully fix them and make them work. So anyway, don't torque those down on your water pump until the fan is on there. So okay, well, I'm gonna pull this cover off, double check my the shaft on my fuel pump there, and then pull the hydraulic pump back off, put the belt on and new pulley and all that, or not new pulley, but the pulley, fan, all of that, and we'll be ready to pull it off the stand, I think. So pretty cool. Alrighty, guys, sorry I didn't really take you long for this. We got her off the stand though. I had to replace a couple of bolts there. I've been to a hardware store twice to get parts that I've lost, just nuts and bolts and stuff. I'm gonna have to go back one more time. I'm missing one of the bolts for that bell housing. It's supposed to be a stud, but I'm just gonna replace it with a grade 8 bolt and it should be all right. Anyway, the bell housing's on, rear main seal housing's on, rear main seal is in, hydraulic pump, belt, fan, everything. So get that last bolt, and then I was about to put the flywheel on, but I realized I didn't put any way to mark how that goes on there. There are marks on the flywheel. You see that right there? Tell you where top dead center of piston number 1 is, and so I'm not sure where to line that mark up. So I think what I'll do is just pull the valve cover off real quick, and I can turn the engine until I find top dead center with the valves, and then I'll know where to line that flywheel up. I'll get it put on there, and then we're getting close here. But you may remember my front engine mount is broken off. So I've got it over here in the vise. I need to do a little bit more grinding and prep on it. But what I'll do is just bolt it with the new engine mounts to the bottom of the engine there. We'll put the engine mounts in the bell housing there, just exactly how it is, but with the flywheel on it. And set it in here. And then once it's in place, then I'll crawl underneath the tractor and tack it in place with the engine sitting in there, and then pull the engine back out, set it aside over here, weld that out fully so that it's all good and solid. And then we'll put the torque converter on and set the engine in place for real. So getting real close here. So all right, one more trip to the hardware store, hopefully, and hopefully we'll have everything kind of figured out. New flex plate on here as well, because the old one got messed up, and all new, bought a whole new set of bolts for these. And the old flex plate got messed up and actually bent 2 of these bolts and broke one of them whenever somebody before me had a starter that came apart, and that's what broke the bell housing. That's why it's all primered down there, because I had to fix that. Had to brace all that casting back together down there on the bottom. You can kind of see there, the whole thing was just broke apart. So anyway, I ground all that out and brazed it all back together, drilled and tapped a couple new holes. Frey's up there eating hay. So, all right, to the hardware store. And then we'll get this dude done, I hope. Okay, I thought that this was a concentric hole pattern, but it's not. It actually only goes on there one way. The book said when both of the push rods are loose on number 1 piston, that means it's at top dead center. And if we look through this hole, really hard to see. You see that little pointer though? And that line right there, you can see just barely below the line there, it says DC, means dead center. Put you right on it, maybe. There, so kind of hard to see. But anyway, so that's actually all good. So slap the valve cover back on there and get everything out of the way. Fire the old backhoe back up and set it in there, and we're ready to start welding that front engine mount on. Alrighty, there we go. Engine mount welded back on. I'll just show you that weld because it was the easy one. A lot of the other ones don't look as good. I was at the very end of my leads and laying on my back under there. Under the dozer is kind of hard to weld, but anyway, cool. Engine mount is on. So we'll let that cool a little while longer. It's still blistering hot. So we just got to throw torque converter on and the starter and set it in there. So alrighty. I think I'll try to set up a time lapse for putting the engine in. So not very good light in here, but oh, I'm excited. It's close. So all right, well, like I said, I'll give that a minute to cool down, take a quick break, and yeah, put this engine in. Well, phone died last night, but as you can see, made some pretty damn good headway. One minor setback that I got to stop and fix is I have a water leak on the top of my fuel pump. So, unfortunately, I put 4 gallons of, mixed antifreeze and water in it before I noticed it, before it filled it up to the top of the engine there. But it's this bolt right there. That's where it's leaking out of. So I'm at least going to have to, looks like, take the water pump off, which means I have to take the fan off. I think I can get it out of there without taking the radiator back off, but maybe not. I may have to take the radiator back off, which means I'll have to dump 4 gallons of coolant, which is kind of a bummer, but yeah, hopefully I don't have to do that. So anyway, hydraulic pump's hooked up, starter's hooked up, other hydraulic pump's hooked up, fuel pump's hooked up on the other side. Oh, and I smashed up my that little band right there, putting the engine in. So I might have to take the air filter back off real quick. That's no big deal, just a hose clamp, and try to straighten that out. Yeah, we'll see. So anyway, I got to fix this water pump issue and see what's going on with that. So that's the next step, but it does have water in it. Oh, the other thing, I'm going to go pull the drain plug out of the bottom, make sure there's no water in there. So if there is, that means something's leaking internally. So hopefully there's not, or shouldn't be. But I'm going to do that real quick. First, just to double check, make sure. Yeah. So other than that, basically just put fluids in it and try to start it. So after I fix that water leak. So, alrighty, cool. Let's see if I can get that fan off of there. All right, so I was able to get to all that. I'm looking at that now. The bottom two are studs, and they just thread into the front part of this housing right here, and they stick out. That top one though is a through hole that's drilled, and then it actually goes all the way through the pump housing into the head. So I don't know how that's supposed to work, but there's no way that's going to seal because it's just a through clearance hole with a bolt in it. It's got a gasket around the bolt hole, but the bolt hole itself is open on the backside to where the coolant is. So there's always going to be a leakage path, is my point, which is exactly where I saw the leakage. So I'm going to go see if I've got maybe a like a copper crush washer that I can put under there instead of a lock washer, and that should fix it. And I think that's the only problem. So yeah, so I lost a little bit of coolant on the ground, but yeah, I think if I can put a crush washer in there, that'll fix that leak. So I'm gonna go look. I think I've got one. Okay, this is a rubber sealing washer. I think that's what I'm gonna use. I've also got copper crush washer. You could argue that this is better because it won't degrade over time, but I think in this case that this rubber one's gonna seal better. So that's what I'm going to put on there, I think. So let me just slap this in there real quick, and then before I reassemble the fan and all that, I will fill it up with fluid to make sure it doesn't leak. So give me just a minute here. Alrighty, guys. So everything should be done. I've got oil in it, got coolant in it, got hydraulic fluid in it. That leak seems to be sealed up, although it looks like that might be leaking a little bit right there. I'll address that later. What we're going to do is just run it on the starter, so I've got the fuel shut off to it. And just want to see oil coming out the top of all these valves. And once we see that, I'll put the valve cover back on. We'll see if we can actually start this sucker. So let's see what we get here. Okay, I'll figure out why my starter's not working. All right, guys, been having some battery trouble, but got one that's kind of working right now. So you can see oil coming up everywhere. That's what I was wanting to see. So I think I'll go ahead and put the valve cover back on it now. And we'll start bleeding the fuel system. I did have one problem. This oil line, this is the line to the gauge up there. Sun's messing with me. It broke, so I had to run to town and get a hose made real quick. But yeah, we'll put this valve cover back on and see if we can't get the fuel system bled down and see if she starts. All right, here we go. I don't know if it's going to start. This dozer's always giving me battery trouble, and my battery's kind of dead. So, but everything else should be ready. So let's give it a try here. All right. All right. Oh, yeah. So, all right, I got some stuff left to put back together. And sounds like my fuel might be just a little bit off. So, we'll fine tune that. I don't have coolant in it yet either. So, all right. Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Boom, just like that. Back together. So she is running. Everything's good. Reassembled. Awesome. Hydraulic cylinder's back on. Hood. Limb risers. Everything. Ready to go push some dirt now. So, awesome. So this has been like a year in the coming. And getting this back together has been about 4 days worth of just, piddling and working on it and getting it together. Had a problem with my fuel pump, was timed wrong. Separate video about that, just a little short one. But yeah, I'm glad to have this done. It's been, like I said, about a year in the making. So, all right. Well, that is the end of the Case 450 or the Case 207D dozer engine rebuild. So, thank you guys for watching. See you next time. You guys didn't think I was gonna end the video without letting you hear it, did you? Put a muffler on it, by the way, so it's much quieter now. Okay, something's wrong. It's not not moving. that's not good. Okay, well, I'm not quite done. Cold start this morning. I figured out why it wasn't moving. It's because I forgot to put transmission fluid in the transmission. So, that would explain it. Anyway, that's all that's wrong with that. So, all right, we're gonna let her warm up here and get her out of the barn and go push some dirt.